Devastated. We were absolutely devastated. There is no plan B.
There is no plan B.
Now you can call it law of attraction or manifesting your reality, but for us, we like there is no plan B.
We've used this over the last 9 years, and to be honest, sometimes it falls dead on its ass and we end up with plan E. But there are times when it has worked. In fact, it's worked so well that realizing the power we have to create what we want is actually scary.
January 2009, after 9 months of travelling, we arrived in Nayadam, southern India, and signed in to the Shivananda ashram.
Om Namo Bhagavate Shivanandaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Satgurunathaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Shivanandaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Satgurunathaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Shivanandaya.
We had demons to face and shit to sort out. We needed to go somewhere that would help us learn, heal, and grow. We lived in the ashram for 3 months and had little to no contact with the outside world. The only time we used email was at the end of our stay to let our families know we were coming home as vegetarians, so hold the barbecue for our welcome home lunch.
We immersed ourselves in totally new concepts. We expanded what had been our very limited horizon and broke through a lot of painful and fearful barriers. You can watch this older video that explains a lot more about the whys and hows of our ashram experience.
One of the greatest and most surprising things that came out of that 3 months was the concept of karma yoga. Basically, it's selfless service.
The idea of doing something in service of another was like a lightning bolt strike to the head for us, because back then our entire worldview was focused on ourselves. We cleaned the dorm bathrooms, we served food in the dining hall, I ran the library.
I grew the pineapple garden. It made us feel good on a different level. It made us smile even when we were in discomfort.
And yes, of course we were gaining something from the selfless service, but it was a different kind of gaining. It was a kind of gratification that we'd never experienced before.
The key point is we liked it and we wanted to do more of it when we left the ashram. And by mid-2009, we were establishing our plan to do more of it.
Now we're old school, so back in those days we used Lonely Planet guidebooks, not ebooks, actual paper books. We loaned the Lonely Planet guide for Thailand from our local library in Melbourne. Why Thailand? Why not?
We were looking for volunteer opportunities in the guidebook and we only found one option that we liked and that suited us. And so, Plan A was born.
We emailed the foundation and they responded with an opening. The communication went back and forth as we prepared our application. But our application was delayed due to some good old-fashioned Thai paperwork and visa drama. So just as we were ready to submit our application, we got this email from the foundation.
Dear Natasha, we have recently accepted several new volunteers who will be joining us in October for 6 months. This means that we cannot accept any more volunteers. I would like to thank you for your interest and I wish you good luck.
Devastated. We were absolutely devastated.
At that point, we had no idea what to do next. We hadn't anticipated this curveball. We had no plan B. And that's when we realized there is no plan B.
Here's a key point about manifesting what you really want in life that a lot of people forget about. Action. You need to take action. Intention is good, visualization is good, but action is also needed to turn those thoughts and words into reality.
So we got our visas, packed our bags, booked a one-way ticket and went to Thailand. We were going to volunteer at this foundation.
We arrived and within a day or so, we got on the back of a motorbike taxi and headed straight for the foundation. Scooting through the traffic was one of the most hair-raising experiences we'd had in a while. Although the smile on my taxi driver's face as I wrapped my arms around his waist in absolute terror was priceless. Not sure if he was smiling at me being so scared or the fact that he had a Western girl wrapping her arms around his body.
We hadn't emailed the foundation's volunteer coordinator to let him know we were coming. We just arrived. We walked into the office looked to our left and saw the only foreigner working there. He was already out of his chair and about to walk away when we yelled out his name. We had no idea if this man was indeed the volunteer coordinator that we'd been emailing. He turned around and responded, and yes, this was the man we were looking for. We headed straight over to him, shook his hand and told him who we were.
His face was priceless. His eyes widened and he looked totally shocked and confused. He was clearly thinking, what the F are these two doing here? Did they misunderstand my last email to them? Oh shit, I don't have a place for them. We reassured him that we understood his last email, but we don't have a plan B. So we came to meet him anyway. Clearly, no other volunteer applicant had ever done this before.
He said it was good timing because he's usually at the gym at this time on the weekends, so it was just by chance that we caught him in the office. At this stage, we knew that nothing was happening just by chance. Things were aligning, Plan A was in motion. We sat down and had a lovely chat.
We told him more about us, our travels the previous year, the karma yoga we learned about. We got on really well, and he told us more about the foundation, the work they do, and the history of the place. But the reality was, he didn't have a place for us at the foundation at that time. He showed us the folder full of successful volunteer applications, and indeed, it was full.
But there was no Plan B.
And then, it happened. Something shifted. Something suddenly changed. It's hard for us to describe this properly, and it sounds kind of insane, but it's as though something outside of the three of us intervened. Because all of a sudden, he said,
You know what? You guys should go and explore Thailand. Go travel a bit, see the country, experience the people and the culture, and come back in about 5 weeks and I'll have a place for you. Seriously, that actually happened. Plan A worked.
Now, when we left that meeting and talked about it, we both described the exact same thing. It was like we felt a tangible shift of energy at that moment. And it was like the volunteer coordinator said what he did without even realizing it, because it came out of nowhere.
It was like someone whispered in his ear what to say next, and he said it. The best way we could describe it, it was like as if someone had cast a Jedi mind trick on him to say what we wanted him to say.
Let me see your identification.
You don't need to see his identification.
We don't need to see his identification.
You will have a place for Natasha and Luca.
Now for the funniest part of this story. Back then, we were practicing Reiki, an ancient Japanese technique of working with energy. And there's a particular Reiki symbol that you do with your hand called Choku-rei. It's the power symbol, and it's used for protection.
Just as it seemed like the conversation was over and there was no way the volunteer coordinator was going to accept us,
I looked over to Luca and I saw his hand moving under the table, and I thought, yes, Luca, great idea. You're doing the Choku-rei symbol to help the situation. I'll do it too. So I started to frantically do the symbol under the table too. We later agreed it was at that point that we felt there was a tangible shift in the energy between the three of us right before the coordinator said we could join.
well, later on, as we were talking about it over dinner, I said to Natasha, I wasn't doing the Choku-rei symbol at all. I was shooing away mosquitoes.
We left the foundation in shock and couldn't believe our plan actually worked. And just when we thought there was nothing else that could shock us that day, when we left the foundation through the back entrance, we noticed a Hindu shrine. Considering Thailand is mainly a Buddhist country, this was unusual. We went to take a look and were absolutely gobsmacked by what we found.
In the ashram, we went through what was basically a spiritual naming ceremony, where the names we were given were based on the Hindu deities we each had an affinity for. My name was Vigneshwara, after the deity Ganesha.
My name was Niranjana, after the deity Durga. Now, we're not Hindu and we don't prescribe to any religion, but these deities are simply representations of qualities within each of us.
In the ashram, their pictures were all around the hall, we chanted their names, and we carried their little statues with us on our travels for protection and strength. Well, talk about synchronicity. We learned about selfless service in the ashram, we learned about these deities, and out the back of the foundation was a Hindu shrine with statues of, you guessed it, our two chosen deities, Ganesha and Durga. That's f***ing crazy.
As for our time at the foundation, it was everything we hoped to experience and more. We taught English to young disabled adults, we took them swimming, we played and sang and danced with blind children, we took care of children from the slum areas in daycare, we spent time with homeless, abandoned and abused children, we became mum and dad to babies in the orphanage.
We spent almost 6 months learning how to connect with, teach and care for total strangers who spoke a different language and had a different culture. Most of the time it felt like they were teaching us more than we were teaching them. They taught us the true meaning of gratitude, humility, courage, and perseverance.
We experienced, learned, and gained so much that at times we actually felt guilty because it seemed like our service was no longer selfless. But that was okay, because in the end, we're all just human trying to find connection and meaning, and we're all here to help each other do that.
Now, if you're not into the more spiritual energy woo-woo side of this story, it doesn't matter. The key point is it was our attitude, belief, and commitment to our plan that created exactly the experience we wanted in our lives at that point. We didn't even bother coming up with a plan B because we so strongly believed that plan A was not only going to work, but that it already had worked. And you can apply this story to any situation in your life.
Don't get us wrong, it can definitely be hard to do. And the times it hasn't worked, it's because we were going through the motions, but we didn't believe it in our heart of hearts. There was doubt. And, if we're to be honest, a rough plan B in the back of our minds. Whereas the times that it did work, we trusted the process wholeheartedly, and there was a knowingness deep inside of us.
And this experience gave us the courage and the confidence to know that we're more in control of our reality than we think. Even when we're told no, even when there are barriers and obstacles and the path seems very unclear, sometimes there really is no plan B.
We hope you enjoyed this story. We loved sharing it with you.
If you like this video, check out our previous story. It's quite the adventure and literally changed our lives.
Leave a comment for us down below. We'd love to hear your thoughts and experience on not having a plan B.
And subscribe to the channel if you haven't already.
Ding the bell and check the box to receive notifications for our upcoming videos.
And remember until next time that going vegan is not the most we can do.
It's the least we can do. See you next video.
Bye guys. I lost my necklace. I know, it sounds a bit weird, but let me explain. One of the main purposes of our travels that year was to grow and heal. And for me, I needed to find my voice.
Okay, this way.
I had learned that one of the